Can everyone please take a seat? We have a big program tonight, so we're trying to start on time. And good evening, everyone. My name is Lindsay Schnabel. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. The League welcomes you to Candidates Night 2019. Thank you for being part of the town and learning about the candidates. And we need to give all 19 candidates here tonight an even bigger applause for their time, effort, knowledge, and dedication it takes to be on the slate and to take on the duties beyond the election. We'd love to have new members join the League of Women Voters, which is about to have its 100th birthday. You can ask the members present for any or all the reasons you might join. As a member, you have the opportunity to be more informed and take a larger role in democracy. You can sign up at the table in the back. However, the most important thing is, now that you're here to learn about the candidates, is to actually go and vote on April 11. And don't forget town meeting on April 6th, and those dates are the same for both towns. I would like to thank Bill Melville with HWCAM, and especially the students for helping out tonight. And please note, tonight is being recorded live and for later broadcast on Comcast 10 and Verizon 36. Our moderator tonight is Dr. Paul Michaelides. Paul is a professor of civic media and journalism at Emerson College in Boston. He's written multiple books and articles that explore how people can effectively use media to engage in their communities. He's a resident of Wenham, and his partner Amy live with their 3 children, and 2 in Bucher and 1 in diapers.
Thank you, Lindsay, for that introduction, and I'm happy that I'm not on diaper duty tonight and I'm able to be here. So it's a pleasure to welcome you all. It's a great turnout this evening for an important event for the town. We have 19 candidates, as Lindsay mentioned, and I'd like us all to please thank the Hamilton Wenham League of Women Voters for organizing this event. It's a real pleasure that they do that. So my job this evening will be to simply play the role of kind of the villain here, to ask hard questions of our candidates and also to keep them to time. There are 2 people here that are more important than anyone else in the room, and that's Catherine and Alexis, and they have their wonderful time cards. They're going to be keeping the candidates to time for their answers, and I will support them in case they need the support. So tonight we have a number of contested races. We have only Wenham that has uncontested races here tonight, and 2 of our uncontested candidates are here, and they'll speak to you shortly and give some overview statements. They'll be asked to make a 90-second introductory statement, briefly telling us why they chose to run for office. From there, just to set a little bit of the agenda and the rules, in the contested races for the town of Wenham, we have 2 contested races. One is for the Board of Selectmen and one is for the school committee. In the school committee, as most of you know, there are 3 seats to be filled, and those seats may be filled by either town's candidate, and each town has 3 candidates tonight. In Hamilton, most of the offices to be filled are contested: Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, School Committee, and Library Trustee. There are 2 library trustees from each town and 2 at-large members, and this year only the town members are up for election. We'll adhere to strict timing rules so that we can hear from all 19 of the candidates present here tonight. So, and here's what we're going to ask each candidate to do. They'll each make a 90-minute. That's the trick. We get you in the room. There's cookies in the back, and this will be a 48-hour event, not simply 2 hours. Right? 90-second opening statement. Answer questions from that have emerged from the League of Women Voters that are here with me tonight. And then there'll be a chance to have written questions from the audience if there's time permitting. We do have a host of, this is quite a large turnout of candidates, so depending on how we're doing with time, if we have questions for audience, time for audience questions, we'll do that. All responses will be limited to 90 seconds, and then each candidate will get to make a 1-minute closing statement. So that's how we'll do it for each of the contested races. And so thanks to all the candidates as well. It's a great turnout for candidates, and we're really happy that almost everyone could make it here tonight to be with us. So that's the rules. So now we're going to dive in. First we're going to hear from our uncontested candidates. So Peter Clay is running for Planning Board for a 5-year term, and Andrew Ting is running for the Board of Health for a 3-year term. And then you can, please, we'll start with Peter and then go to Andrew. So 90-second statements, just telling us a little bit about why you're choosing to run for this respective office.
Oh, is this working? Okay, so just a little background. My wife, Julie, and I moved here in '92. We had 3 kids who all went through the regional school system. I spent 25 years as a senior marketing executive for the Gillette blade business, which pretty easy to get guys to spend through the nose for all those very expensive cartridges, so pretty creative. I'm running for the planning board because my wife and Di Bucco asked me to. Just to be brutally honest. And my wife's on the board of trustees of the library, and I thought it was about time that I actually tried to give back as well. I think I have a pretty good handle on the feel of the community of Wenham, and I do everything I can to make sure that nothing changes that.
Great. Thank you, Peter. And now Andrew for the Board of Health for a 3-year term.
Yeah, so my name is Andrew Ting, and I'm running for the Board of Health. This is actually my 3rd term running for the Board of Health. I actually got here because one day Dr. Miguel Martinez says, "You're going to do it now," because I've done it long enough. So, but it comes sort of with the training that I have. I'm trained as a physician, and my wife is a nurse, and so we are involved in sort of medical care and health care. And the Board of Health made a good connection. And I've really enjoyed my 2 terms running on the Board of Health. I don't know if many people know what the Board of Health does, but we're involved with permitting septics, eating establishments, camps, pools. We are involved in working on regulations for, in this past term, worked on regulations for barns and chicken coops. We also worked on raising the minimum age to purchase tobacco products to 21, from 18 to 21. And we work collaboratively with our fellow townies over in Hamilton. We have a flu clinic that we share in the fall, and we run several clinics, as well as we are working now with Hamilton and the school committee regarding vaping and in the school system. So we do a lot of stuff to help with keeping people healthy. So that I am going to say that because I got the sign up.
Nice. Thank you, Andrew. So thanks to Peter and Andrew, and good work. We've made it successfully through the first portion. This is great. Yeah. So thank you, guys. And so just a note on order, we're going to invite, we are going to have first hear from the Board of Selectmen, first from Hamilton, then Wenham, then we'll go on to the Planning Committee, Library of Trustees, and then the School Committee will be the last group that we'll hear from. So there are 3 Board of Selectmen, the Hamilton Board of Selectmen to complete a 3-year term. So the candidates are Darcy Dale, Mark Johnson, and Rosemary Kennedy. And there's tent cards. Do we need tent cards? If you have your tent cards, it'd be helpful just for the TV audiences to know.
I'm Mark.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to first hear from Darcy and then Mark and then Rosemary. Each candidate will have a 90-second open statement, and then we have 3 questions, and we'll rotate through the order. So Darcy, if you'd like to start us off.
Yes. Thank you to the Hamilton Wenham League of Women Voters for this opportunity for the citizens and the candidates. My name is Darcel Dale, but most of you know me as Darcy, so don't be surprised when you see my full name on the ballot. I've lived in town for about 37 years. I've been on the Finance and Advisory Committee for over 2 years, and it's given me valuable insight on how the town operates and what the specific issues are for the town of Hamilton. My main platform is based on getting back to our direct democracy. Every single one of us who is registered to vote in the town of Hamilton acts as their own citizen legislator when you go to town meeting and vote. I'm advocating a return to regular order where the FinCom advises the citizen legislature on every article at town meeting. The citizen legislature votes their will, and the Board of Selectmen must execute those articles. This type of self-governance is the purest form of democracy, and it is direct because there's no filter between the citizen legislature and the Board of Selectmen. But we've lost our way over the last 3 to 4 years. We must have high expectations of our board members in that they must perform their due diligence, which gives rise to transparency and assigns accountability. I've done it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank
was
you,
fast.
Darcy. Yeah, that was, so thank you. So next we'll go to Mark. And just so you guys know that, when you see their signs, that's about 5 to 10 seconds left. So it's you can kind of have a nice wind down. We don't want to be too draconian
Okay.
here. So Mark?
No worries, thank you. And thanks to the League of Women Voters for having this great meeting every year. Okay, so I moved here 22 years ago. My wife and I came from California. 2 kids, they went through the school system. They now live in Boston. It's great, see them all the time. Once I moved here, worked with the planning board to when they had the master plan, then worked 7 years on the planning board, and then 6 years for 2 terms of selectman on the select board. I run a company called Texture Technologies. It's a high-end instrument company. We have 3,000 or so customers throughout the country. I have 7 offices. Really a very full-time job running a company. That said, the skills that we are going to be facing and needing over the next 3-4 years are going to be quite deep. We have a lot of capital issues ahead of us. We need to go very deeply into the rationales for those issues, understand exactly what we're doing, understand exactly what priorities. We might need to push some things off a few years. We might need to bring things forward a few years based on how bonds roll over, but we need to be able to plan that. We have a new town manager. We all win when town manager is successful. We need to make town manager successful, which means stop bickering, stop working to divide it, and start working very, very tightly. We'll get into the other issues.
Thanks, Mark.
Time's up.
And Rosemary.
Hi there. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. The first thing I want to say is it took the Red Sox 86 years to win, so we'll just leave it at that. And I'm running for selectman because the people of Hamilton need and deserve strong, independent leadership that listens to, understands, and respects their opinions. For the past several years, I've been a passionate advocate for diverse citizens groups. I stand with the citizens of Hamilton. Residents state they're not feeling heard and express frustration that they're being left out of important decisions that impact tax rates and their quality of life. I have a better plan. Above all, a selectman is elected to execute the will of the citizens and not to substitute personal judgment for theirs. I will encourage citizens to come forward with ideas and opinions that open doors to communication and result in workable solutions to town issues. I will contribute to a select board that publicly debates all issues, and I will not join the ranks of an echo chamber. There are several important issues facing our town. Tax increases are a source of distress for young families who work 2 jobs and barely have any time to play with their children, and elderly on fixed income are also severely stressed. My plan is to spend tax dollars carefully and wisely, cognizant of the impact of every expenditure. I will not waste taxpayer dollars on dead-end projects. 5 seconds. I've lived here 30 years, and I've served on the Open Space Committee, have spoken at many town meetings, have advocated for important issues, have protested about violations of our bylaws, have organized a tree replanting project at the library, and serve on the executive board of the Hamilton Wenham Garden Club. I'm also a mother, a nurse, and an attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. So now we'll have 3 questions that have been sourced by the League of Women Voters, and we will rotate order. So in this question, we'll start with Darcy, go to Mark, and Rosemary. The first question for the candidates is, how should Hamilton proceed in the issue of affordable housing?
Well, I think how we proceed will depend on how the people vote.
Okay, awesome. That saved the time.
Their word is the last word.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Darcy. Mark?
Not all issues. So we do have an obligation to have 10% affordable housing. It's a state obligation. We don't have to do it, but there are consequences. The consequences are that larger projects that we don't want, that are of scale, could come in. And so it's a risk, and the state has set it up that way. If we're lucky, we'll get small projects that don't need town resources, in which case the citizens won't even have a vote. Someone will come in, they'll lock up a piece of land, they'll do something, hopefully work with the Affordable Housing Trust, maybe with the planning board, and then go to the ZBA, get their permits. But hopefully it'll be a type of project that works. There is a chance that projects will need town meeting support, particularly if there are CPC or other funds that are involved, in which case we do have to build a consensus, and there's going to be a process by which you get that in front and you make sure that people are educated on what the topics are.
Thank you. And Rosemary, so the question is, how should Hamilton proceed in the issue of affordable housing?
Right, I think affordable housing is critical, especially for the seniors in our community. We have very high-end housing, and we have very low-income housing. We have nothing for the average person who's a retiree, maybe has lost his spouse and is living in a home alone. But I think one of the important issues is, despite a 40B, the 40B law is a goal. It's not a mandate. In fact, 80% of cities and towns in Massachusetts have not met the 10% goal. It's 50% have not met 5%. So it's not been a very successful law. So I don't feel that we're under the gun to perform anything that is against what the citizens in town want. I do believe that the projects over on Asbury Street, the Habitat for Humanity, is a great idea. I like Wenham's idea of taking several houses and rehab them over the course of 5 years and make that into affordable housing. I think we can do it in a way that's economical, that doesn't stress our resources, including our water supply, our infrastructure, our public safety, and our schools, and that meets the need in general for affordable housing.
Great, thank you. The next question has to a little bit more open-ended. We'll start with Rosemary, then we'll go to Darcy, and end with Mark. The next question, what other issues beside affordable housing do you see as most important in the next 3 years?
Oh, gosh.
I
Okay,
didn't
well,
make these up.
I think there's a critical issue with our water. In fact, I've been very concerned about our water supply and our water cleanliness over the past several years. We've had a non-ending water ban for 6 months of the year. And so that just ties in with affordable housing. We need to make sure that the size and density of these housing projects do not impact even more adversely our water supply. As it is now, our water tanks, our filtration plant is sort of running on a wing and a prayer. I was just reading about it, and I thought we need to invest in a reliable, functional water filtration unit that will supply water to the existing residents of this town. I think that's critical for the health of everybody in this town.
Thank you. We'll go to Darcy.
Thank you. I agree with you. I think water infrastructure is going to be paramount We have just gone through a really rough period with the replacing some of the pipes, and I don't know if all of you realize this, but there has been some chemicals that have leached into our system, and even though it hasn't gotten to the point where it's dangerous, it's still not good for people who have compromised immune systems, if they're pregnant or they're elderly or they're very young. So if you haven't received that flyer, it's really important that you pay attention. The other thing would be working with the schools to help them with their budgeting. If we could somehow find a way to work collaboratively with Hamilton and Wenham for shared services, perhaps other creative ways to reduce funding so that we don't have to be spending every year it goes up. That would be a major thing. Keeping taxes stable, which means finding revenue streams, and I think that's going to be critical too. I'd like to see us take a look at the Chabaco area where there could be some, where the solar landfill is. We have 20 acres up there of buildable land, and I'm wondering if maybe we should start really thinking about something like a light industrial or maybe even residential, depending on what the people want. But if we could find a way to get some revenue, that would be, yes, thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. And
That was fast.
they do. And then we'll go to Mark. Again, the question is, what other issues beside affordable housing do you see as most important in the next 3 years?
Okay, so first and foremost, we have to make town managers successful, which I started out, because that will help us get very strong operating control budgets, and having, because the operating budget has to be under control to begin with. Next would be planning for all the capital, and that includes town hall renovation, which is keyed up. The school committee had a large capital ask last year, coming back with 0 this year, but that's going to have to be stitched into our overall needs. We definitely have recreation field needs. We definitely have senior affordable housing needs. I agree with Rosie there. I think we have addressed the water. I think that the water issue and the plant renovations that they're doing right now, that they've been talking about at the selectmen meetings, I think there's a plan for that. So I don't think that's going to be the biggest thing going forward. With regard to the landfill, we've studied that for 15 years. The best we could do is put a solar panel on top, a solar array on it, and that's underway. So that's sort of off the table. So the big things are going to be managing our capital. Increasing volunteerism is huge, because every single one of our boards is driven by volunteers, and we're starting to get the same people, including myself, back again. We need new bodies in these seats, and it has to be at every single organization throughout the community. It has to be our rec board, it has to be our volunteer board, community house, churches, everything. And so when people move into town, they have to understand that volunteering is what makes this community work, and we need to have an infrastructure that allows that to happen. We'll all be better off for it.
Thank you. And the third and final question before closing statements will go Mark, Rosemary, and Darcy. This question is a little long. The town's trash costs have skyrocketed since we now pay more for our solid waste. Compost is the heavy stuff. Hamilton could cut down on its trash costs by banning organics from our trash. San Francisco and Seattle have done this. Would you vote to ban organics from our trash stream?
So the problem with, sorry, that you wanted me to go first?
Mark, you're first, then
Okay.
Rosemary
Yeah.
and Darcy, so we'll go right
So the problem with banning it is, who polices it? The guys who actually tip it are not advocate checks on that. So it's not a bad idea, but it's really hard to police, and you won't get the pickup. We actually were the highest in the state, and arguably even higher somewhere east of the Mississippi, because we had gone to picking up trash every other week. What that did is it forced everybody to use the organics, and we had absolutely astonishing rates, and it didn't cost us anything, because it was a lot cheaper, and it basically just ton for ton just moved things off. So, but there was a political risk to that, and people said they wanted their choice. So if we really are forced to make some hard economic choices. That's an easy decision we can make. It's a change of behavior. Everything gets picked up. Trash would go back to every other week. I'm not advocating that. I think there are probably some choices that we have between now and then, but we've already done it. It was massively successful. We can go back to it if we need to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Rosemary, do you need the question again?
Please,
So the question says, the town's trash costs have skyrocketed since we now pay more for our solid waste. Compost is the heavy stuff. Hamilton could cut down on its trash costs by banning organics from our trash. San Francisco and Seattle have done this. Would you vote to ban organics from our trash stream?
Well, sure I would, and I can tell you many simple reasons. We're in Hamilton, where everybody moves to enjoy the open space, the gardens, and so many of mine, I shouldn't laugh at them because I'm just as inept at it, but composting is so important. And in gardens, in lawns and trees, to keep our soil healthy, our lawns healthy. We don't have to put fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. People enjoy gardening. It brings a sense of community, and I think any way we can save money is great. So I think it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rosemary. And Darcy.
Yes, thank you. I agree, and I think we have a valuable resource in Gretel Clark, who has been an icon and really showed us the way. And I think if we listen to her and follow her recommendations, I think we will be able to banish organics and go strictly composting. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think I'd be very happy to work with someone like Gretel on making our composting mandatory.
Great, thank you very much, Darcy. So now we'll offer each candidate to make a 1-minute closing statement, and yeah, so that's
all good.
These are, yes. We appreciate your attention to time. It's 19 candidates within 2 hours. It's hard, so we really do appreciate it. We'll go in reverse order from how we started. So we will first hear from Rosemary, then Mark, and then Darcy. Okay. So Rosemary.
Okay. As we move forward, there were several issues to consider. Housing, taxes, safety, how much to develop are but a few of these. Whatever the issues may be, they must be fully considered in the light of day by a Board of Selectmen who is willing and able to discuss the benefits and the costs to our community of taxpayers. Particular emphasis must be given to potential impacts upon our water supply, our environment, the schools, our public safety services, and infrastructure. Perhaps, though, the initial question to all this should be, what do the citizens of our town want our town to look like in 20-plus years? That question was answered in large measure by our last town survey and in recent town meeting votes. Neither a small group in isolation nor outside profit-driven developers must be allowed to decide for us. We practice self-governance here. So as I have been doing for the past several years, I will work to ensure that citizen voices are heard, respected, and honored. And I ask for your vote on April 11th for a better plan.
Thank you. We'll go to Mark next.
Thank you. So anybody who knows me, and unfortunately a lot of you guys do because I've been very public over the last couple of years, knows that I'm massively analytical. I work on facts. I define and describe a process and then try to follow it in the most transparent way possible. You don't necessarily like the conclusions all the time because sometimes the conclusions are overly analytical and not sensitive to some of the nuances that some people want. But it's always done because we view what we need to do, and we stick to it. It used to be that selectmen could take a stand, a big picture stand, like some of the ones that are being offered today, and say, oh, let's do the landfill, let's do the other. But today, you have to be detailed. You have to work it through. Once you analyze and decide what to do, you have to be willing to advocate and make it happen. You also need to have the experience to know, what is a good decision and what is a bad decision. And I bring the experience. I'm very analytical. And I know the issues, and I intend to listen a lot to make sure that I get lots of input.
Thanks, Mark. And Darcy.
Thank you. Vote for good government. I will work with you to restore government to the people. In our direct democracy town meeting form of government, the people are the legislature, and our votes rule. The boards are responsible to us, not vice versa. Vote for transparency. The people must be provided with timely notice and complete information of all board decisions and actions so that there is an opportunity to participate, to be heard, and to oppose board overreach. At this point in time, FinCom is not receiving timely information. That means we can't give you proper recommendations for articles at town meeting. And as I speak, the warrant still has not been settled, and we're days away from town meeting. FinCom won't even have a time to discuss and make recommendations. Vote for board accountability. All funds belong to the people and must not be allocated without appropriate review. Expenditures can be published and fully explained so the citizens can take part in the debate. So I'm asking for your vote to support and sustain our direct democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. So thanks to all the candidates, please.
I think we did well.
Thank you for adhering to the time rules. It's greatly appreciated. Don't forget your wonderful tent cards. So next up, we're going to go to the Wenham Board of Selectmen, and we'll ask Jack Wilhelm and Thomas Brown if they could please join us up at the front. And then one quick note on the questions. I appreciate, it's fun to juggle index cards up here. Many of the questions have come in for others. We'll try to get to those. I consulted with the League of Women Voters, and if folks do have questions, because of the amount of candidates, we love questions that can be about issues and not just directed at individuals so that we can be equitable with the time that's released. So that's why we're not going to be doing individual questions unless they can be answerable by everybody. But thank you for the questions. Great to see. Jack Wilhelm is a candidate for re-election, and Thomas Brown is running for the Board of Selectmen as well. Again, we have each candidate is asked to prepare a 1.5-minute opening statement, and then we have 3 questions from the league for you both to answer. So we'll start with Jack.
Thank you. First, I wish to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to present myself to the Wenham voters. Obviously, I'm Jack Wilhelm, I'm a Wenham selectman, and I reside at 8 Morgan Street. I've lived in Wenham for the past 44 years. And I'm running for a 3-year term, presumably the same in Hamilton. I have extensive experience serving our town, including 6 years on the Wenham Board of Selectmen, 10 years as a member of the Wenham Finance Committee, 6 years as chairman, 6 years in the Wenham Board of Assessors. I really like the punishment. 4 years as chairman. I'm currently a member of the Wenham Veterans Committee, which is responsible for our Memorial Day Parade, Veterans Day celebrations, wreaths across America, and outreach to Wenham veterans, which is very important. I am and have been a member of the Wenham Audit Committee for the past 6 years. I was a member of the Beverly Bank Board for 21 years, and I was a member of the Hospice of the North Shore Finance Committee for several years, now called Care Dimensions. I'm recently retired as a hospital CFO, having served as the CFO of Children's Hospital for 11 years, CFO of the Northeast Health Systems in Beverly Hospital for 16 years. I'm only 32, too. Most recently, I was the CFO and CIO of Emerson Hospital before I retired last year. I love Wenham, and I feel privileged to have served the selectmen for the past 6 years, and I wish to continue to do so. Was I okay with my time? Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Much appreciated. Thomas Brown.
So I'd like to tell you why I'd like to be elected to the Board of Selectmen. My wife and I have discussed many ways of improving our town, and we've done this over the years. And finally, one day she came to me and said, you should stop talking about it at the home or behind the wheel and start to take action. You should run for office. So I decided to run this year. Oh, I'm sorry. I also would like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event, and to all who have attended, who are interested in meeting the candidates or supporting someone who is seeking office. We all appreciate your participation in this process and your support. So anyway, that was my motivation for coming to you and seeking your vote and running for selectman. Obviously, the town is going to be faced with some key challenges this year. We're going to replace the town administrator, and there are a few other things that we're going to have to tackle as well. Some of the things that I think are key items that we need to address in the town we have to really figure out a cost-effective way of improving our water source. That's something that I've talked about before. I mentioned that to the Chronicle when they contacted us. And I think it's paramount that we need to address that. I think we've been kicking the can down the road much too long, and it's something that we need to address right away. We need to look at creative ways to offset the tax burden of Wenham property owners, Wenham taxpayers. Whether that's to increase our business tax base, or to find other ways of increasing the revenues that we can find from other sources within our community. We need to find a compromise or work better with our school board in order to try and find creative ways to meet our financial responsibility for the school system here in our regional school district.
Is that a good place maybe to move on to the first question?
All right, sure. Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Thanks. We just, in the sake of giving equal time to both candidates. So again, we'll have 3 questions, and then we'll have 3 questions and time for a closing statement. We'll start with Jack and then Thomas. The first question to Jack: Wenham will be looking for a new town administrator. What priorities will you expect him or her to address in their first year?
It's a good question. I think that number one, anybody who lives in Wenham or drives through Wenham knows we have a severe traffic problem downtown in central Wenham. You can't take a left on Monument Street or Arbor Street. And so we've been working with the state to come up with a new traffic pattern in public safety. It's going to cost $3 million. It's the bad news. The good news is the state has already committed to pay $2.75 million for that, and we're looking for a grant for another $200,000. So we hope we'd only have to pay $50,000. No one has been killed that I know of in the last 20 years, but it's pretty dangerous to take a left coming out of Friends Court if you are a Wenhamite, and that if you're coming off a Monument at Cherry Street, it might take you 10 minutes to exit onto Main Street. So I would say that that's number one. Continue to get the state grants. Peter Lombardi, who will be leaving us in a week or so, was now standing town administrator. He managed to work closely with Senator Tarr and Representative Hill to get many, many state grants, which we hadn't been able to get in the past. That allows us to do things without putting on the tax rate. And I think those 2 things probably are the most important, as well as that the third thing is our chief of police will be retiring in the next 2 years or so. They can retire a lot earlier than I could have retired, and that we need to select a new police chief to continue to have a friendly police chief in the town. Those are probably the top 3 priorities.
Thank you, Jack. Thomas, the question is, Wenham will be looking for a new town administrator. What priorities will you expect him or her to address in the first year?
Well, obviously, I mentioned the water problem. Again, I think that's something that we need to tackle as a community, and we need to address it. I think there's some really creative ways we can overcome it, and I think we can do that by minimizing the expense, and we need a town administrator who can manage that process. I'm also aware of the fact that we've been tasked with having to replace members of our police organization in town. I think we're going to need to work together in order to make sure that that happens. We get qualified people. We also need to build an infrastructure that's going to allow us to train people so that they can move up through the organization and take over these leadership roles. Relying on people from the outside, it may work from time to time, but I think you can also run into problems with that as well. And we need to figure out a way to do it in the homegrown method. I'm also aware of the fact that town infrastructure on our roads is changing or will be changing. There's been a study that's been done about traffic lights in the Monument Street and Arbor Street area, and I think that tackling that challenge is going to be very important for the next town administrator. I also think we should look at creative ways of resolving that and try and figure out whether or not traffic lights are the best way to do that, or if there's other options that we should look at.
Great, thanks, Thomas. Next question, we'll start with Thomas and go to Jack, and this is a nice moment where this question overlaps with an audience member's question. So the question posed here is, what are other revenue streams What are other revenue streams for the town besides resident taxes?
Sure. That's a great.
Start with Thomas.
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you. I think there's a number of different things we could look at. One of the ideas that I had was looking at changing the laws regarding free tax status for large organizations, such as the college in Wenham, Gordon College. We're all familiar with it. There are different ways you can tackle this issue. One of the things is to encourage them to do a payment in lieu of taxes. It's not a tax and it's not an obligation, but if they're having a good year or if they have extra money, we can ask them for their support. It's similar to a donation. You know, there are ways of drawing business into town too. Recently read an article about a family in Wenham. I believe it's the Fibby family. They live over on Larch Row, and they happen to have a beautiful home, and it's perfect for putting people up and allowing them to stay there while they're visiting their children at college or visiting friends in the area. I understand that there's a litigation going on between the two, the town and this family. I would encourage working with the family as opposed to, you know, taking drastic measures such as a cease and desist action or even taking them to court. I would want to encourage small homegrown businesses like that in this area, in this community. I think we need to do more of it because going to the taxpayer every year looking for an override is not fair. It punishes those people who are on fixed incomes, and I think it's wrong. We need to be better stewards of the money that you trust to the people who run this town. So I would look into those those methods.
Thanks, Thomas. We'll go to Jack. What other revenue streams for the town besides resident taxes?
Well, we've been looking at a 78 acre parcel over in East Wenham called Boulder Lane, which is not in a residential area. It's the town of Wenham. It's 29 acres in the town of Wenham, and the remainder is in the town of Beverly. And it's not in a residential area. It's great for commercial development. The problem is that there are two abutters in the town of Wenham, two other property owners other than the town of Wenham that have a higher expectation of what their property is worth, and we're negotiating with that. And the main problem is that we don't have water and sewer from the Salem water supply. Because whatever we put up there, you're going to have water and sewer unless it's something that doesn't require that, which is very little. So we're working on that. And this past year, we inaugurated a fire-based ambulance service, which is now generating $150,000 more in revenue that we didn't have before, plus the response time is 25% faster based on the last 6 months statistics than we were getting from our employed Cataldo ambulance service. So it's more responsive, which is critical for people in emergency situations. And we need to look at other areas like that we can perhaps look for to add to the tax revenue, add to revenues without taxing people, which is it's a difficult thing to do.
Thanks, Jack. The third question before closing statements, similar to the question for the Hamilton Board of Selectmen, much more succinctly put. We'll start with Jack, and then we'll go to Thomas. Jack, would you vote to ban organics from our trash system?
I have no clue. That's my answer.
Okay. I'm always happy for efficiencies. Thomas, you one up that one? How would you vote to ban organics from our trash system?
Well, I think it was a great point brought up by Mark from running for selectman in Hamilton, where how do you enforce that? And the second question, or the second comment I'll make is this. I think what we need to do is encourage people to recycle. And when Wenham went to the position of saying you can have as many recycle barrels as you want, I think that really began, woke a lot of people up in town, and they said, hey, if I can reduce the amount of my footprint for the trash and increase my recyclables, it's going to be more effective. I know it had a huge impact on our family, and we've gone through a concerted effort to make sure that we can do that. So again, I don't know that banning it is the right way to go forward, but I think that we can do it if we manage it properly, especially if we can expand that. So.
Great, thank you. So now we will we'll turn to a 60-second closing statement, and we'll start with Thomas, and then we'll go to Jack. So, Thomas, closing statement, please.
Sure. All right, well, again, thank you for attending. I really appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you tonight to express why I want to be a member of the Selectmen. And I humbly request your vote. There's a few issues that we talked about. I didn't get to all of them, but I want to make a point. Water is key to our community, and I think there's a really simple solution to this, by the way. So I've been doing a lot of research on this, as I mentioned before, chatting with my wife about certain things. And what I found was the actual document online for, the Salem Water Resource and how they, came to own Wenham Lake and what was required. So without going into a lot of detail, because it's about a 20-page document, the last paragraph in here states very clearly that at any time, if Wenham needs, requires, or wants water from that resource, we can get it. All the water, by the way, is all connected. It's all interconnected. So it's a flip of a switch. There may be a transition period of a week or so, but it's a flip of a switch. And us transitioning into that water resource would be seamless. It's going to be a very inexpensive requirement, I believe. And I think it's something that we could do right away, and that would improve the lives of everyone in town.
Thanks, Thomas. We'll go to Jack. Closing statement, please.
Those yellows, when you hold that up, that means I'm done, is that right?
When I hold it up, you got about 10, it's like the 10-second wind.
I'll be less than that. So that one of the things we have several large parcels in town. We had 2 golf courses, now we have 1. We've converted one of them to a development called Wenham Pines. It's for people who are 55 and older, and that we hope to generate roughly $350,000 in additional tax revenue with no children going to school from that. And that we have other large parcels in town that are currently owned, but owned by people who are getting up there in age, even older than I am, and that so we're hoping that we can use some of these parcels to develop revenue sources that are compatible with a residential community like we are, and so that it takes a real balance to do that, but we're hopeful and we're paying a lot of attention to that, as these properties might be coming in the market in the next 4 or 5 years. And we're also, as somebody mentioned, and the Hamiltonians mentioned affordable housing. Unlike Hamilton, we're about 8.3%. We want to get over the 10% threshold, so we won't have an adverse 40B, and we currently are working hard on that to get over that with the development on Maple Street. And that once we're over that, that we will then not have to worry about some of our large parcels being acquired and putting up, I guess I'm done. And that's the little girl say. So anyway, thank you very much for listening to me, and hopefully you'll vote for me if you're from Wenham.
Okay, thanks,
Hamilton,
Jack.
you can try it, but it won't work probably.
We thank Jack and Thomas for their time.
Thank you.
And thank you for adhering to the time. So next we will do, we'll ask, we have 3 seats on the Hamilton Planning Board for a 3-year term. We have Janelle Curry, candidate for re-election, Edwin Howard, candidate for re-election, and William Wheaton. Daniel Ham is the 4th candidate, but he is unable to attend this evening. So if we could have Janelle, Edwin, and William come up, please. Also, if anyone in the back, this is a question for the, anyone in the back would like chairs at this time? If anyone's tired and doesn't want to stand, we still have chairs here. Is there anyone who would like a chair? If you would, then we have students who might be able to help grab chairs. Okay. How are you? Good. Catherine, Alexis, how you guys doing? Okay, good. Good. Okay, so we have planning board, then we have the library committee, and then the school committee. So 3 candidates here for a 3-year term, and the 4th candidate who was unable to attend this evening. So again, we will ask each to make a 90-second opening statement, and then we have 2 questions for the planning board, and we will rotate order for those questions. So we'll start with Janelle, then we'll go to Edwin, and then we'll go to William or Bill. So, Janelle.
You just start
Yes.
with, go ahead.
Good evening. I could start with simple facts like I've lived in town for 55 years and I know a lot of what goes on from day to day, month to month, year to year, and I recognize a lot of things, but that it's important that younger people work their way into the throes of our government. I would like to retire somewhere along the line, but I haven't. But I'd like to take a minute and explain something which frustrates me very much. I saw in the newspaper the Chronicle makes a misstatement, and it's liable to mislead people attending tonight and in the town. There was an argument going over about the Hamilton town clerk, and the newspaper says that the town clerk's position in Hamilton, the town clerk is the only employee at town hall who answers not to the town manager or any other department manager. That's entirely false. The planning board and its individual members do not answer to the town manager, do not answer to the selectmen. The planning board members work as town employees, and they work specifically for the people of the town. And then the people of the town tell the town meeting what they want to accomplish. The town meeting tells the selectman tells the town manager, and that's the way it goes. I thought it was important to get it out.
Thank you. Much appreciated. So, Janelle, your opening statement, please.
I've lived in Hamilton for 7 years, and I was drawn to Hamilton just because of the nature of it, the mix between the rural and also the small town, because I grew up in the Midwest in small towns, and I've been trying to get rid of my accent since I've moved here. I've not succeeded. But I love land use issues because I have a PhD in geography, and so I love land use, and that's why I was drawn to serving in this way in the community. And I come from a family that always values serving in the community that they live in. So I've loved the opportunity to serve, and it's, to be able to see the town develop and hear what the people's ideas are. And so that's why I want to run again, is because it's been a great experience and it's helped me become more embedded in my community.
Thanks, Janelle. And we'll go to Bill.
I'm delighted to be here this evening to share with you my reasons for running for planning board. Like many of you, we came to Hamilton 35 years ago because of its small town flavor, low density housing, open space, and historic character. I fear that some of the current plans for increased housing density will change the character of the town and in the same case raise the tax rate. Our town is also struggling over how to meet its affordable housing goals while at the same time retaining the character of the town that we all love. Recent proposals have involved massive housing projects with up to 100 or 200 affordable housing units. Okay, I'm in favor of affordable housing, but we need to develop, smaller clusters of affordable housing that better integrate with the neighborhoods. The town also needs to better engage with Gordon Conwell, to convert its existing and underutilized apartments into 40B units. That's a real possibility. The experience I bring to this position, including serving 2 terms on the Hamilton Planning Board in the 1990s, as well as a term on the planning board in the city of Salem before we moved here. I have been a professor at MIT for 45 years, teaching housing economics and municipal finance to thousands of city planning students. Now in part-time retirement, I would love to contribute again.
Thank you very much, Bill. So we have 2 questions for the planning board candidates tonight, and we will reverse the order. So we're going to start with Janelle. We'll answer this, and then Edwin, and then Bill. Question number 1. The planning board has been working for the last 6 months on updating the housing section of the town's master plan. From your understanding of the process, what would be the most valuable outcome?
I think by far the most valuable outcome is educating the population and engaging them in the issue of affordable housing and housing in general, so that the whole community can together figure out a plan for going forward that not only gives what I would call attainable housing, but also housing for all segments of the population. So I think the most important part of it is really the engagement of the public and everybody trying to come around a solution.
Okay, thanks, Janelle. So, Edwin, the question is to you. The planning board has been working for the last 6 months on updating the housing section of the town's master plan. From your understanding of the process, what would be the most valuable outcome?
Could you restate that? I didn't get the first of what you said.
Yeah, it says, it said the planning board has been working for the last 6 months on updating the housing section of the town master plan. And the question is, from your understanding of that process, what do you think the most valuable outcome from the updating of the housing section is?
I'm a capitalist. If it doesn't make economic sense, it's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's the baseline of what I believe in, what I think in, and it's easy to say that I'm a capitalist and I pay attention to the bottom line, and that's in my own living, my own businesses, and the town that I live in. If we don't pay attention to the bottom line, it isn't going to happen. There can be all the planning and rhetoric that goes along with establishing what our goals are. But if it isn't financially within our grasp, it isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then we'll go to Bill.
My wife and I actually participated in one of the workshops for the master plan, and it was very interesting because I came away with the view that the planning process was trying to make us choose between some things that we didn't want. And I think that this master planning process has to listen more to what the town really wants.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Bill. We will go to the second question, and we're going to start with Bill, and then we'll go to Edwin, and we'll end with Janelle. So, Bill, this question is to you. What kind of housing do you think developers should be allowed to build, and will that type of housing require a bylaw change?
Well, again, I really like Hamilton the way it is. So I would love to see developers build, lovely New England colonial style housing in a variety of shapes and sizes and densities, but something that doesn't change the character of the town. And I actually think the current zoning bylaw, with a couple exceptions, is pretty good.
Right. Great. Thank you. So we'll go to Edwin next. So Edwin, the question is, what kind of housing do you think developers should be allowed to build? And will that type of housing require a bylaw change?
I don't really think it's what we allow them to build. I believe what will be built, what is economically feasible, mm-hmm. where the bottom line is what comes up. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be, in my opinion, that's going to be single-family, expensive housing with a great deal of relevance to the open space within the community. I'm one of those who believes that a property is more valuable when it's in a solid relationship with a town that recognizes open space in the form of recreation, places to walk, places, what have you. Mm-hmm. And I think that will drive the economic necessities of survival. People will start to realize that their house is more valuable mm-hmm. because of its association with the open fields and the character of the town through the years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then the question to Janelle.
I agree with Ed in that it has to be what people want to build. It's not like the planning board decides what's built, But what they can do is make sure that the structures and the principles are clear in the bylaws, and we've been working very hard on that and made a lot of good progress. And then I think it's about thinking of the common good. And from the surveys that have been done recently, it's clear we have people who would like to age in Hamilton, and they have to leave because there isn't the housing available for them. So we need, clearly, people in Hamilton want more diversity in types of housing so that they can live out a lifespan here. And I want my daughters, who are, one's a teacher and one's a social worker, to be able to live in a community like Hamilton and enjoy this wonderful place.
Thanks, Janelle. So now we'll ask each candidate to make their 1-minute closing statement, and we will reverse the order. So we'll go Bill to Janelle and then finish with Edwin. So 60-second closing statement, please. We'll start with Bill.
In the long term, planning boards determine the character of their towns. Some change is inevitable, but on the planning board, I would be extremely cautious about new developments and very transparent about all of their likely impacts.
Okay, on the planning board, I think people know I'm very collaborative. I work from principles, and I'm thinking about the common good. And so I would work to judge each proposal based on the particulars of the situation with a sense of what will serve the common good in all parts of the Hamilton community.
Thank you. Edwin?
The most important thing to me in the areas of what we can support and we should be watching, and we're maybe not paying enough attention to it, and that is our water supply. I feel that it's one of the most fundamental things, and maybe the most valuable thing that we have in the community is our water supply. And paying attention to that is it's not on a hot enough burner in my feeling. I feel that water supply and its definition is more important than building another housing development.
Great, thank you. Could we please thank our 3 candidates tonight? Bill, Edwin, and Janelle. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Ed.
So we have 2 more candidates ready. Everyone's doing okay, feeling okay? We're about halfway through. Appreciate all the candidates' attention to time. And also, just very quickly, I know the answers here are meant to be directed and limited, but you can always reach out to the candidates to find more information as you need. Library trustees, we have 1 seat for a 3-year term, and we have 2 candidates, Denise Bisayon and Nicole Gray, who is a candidate for re-election. So could Denise and Nicole please join us at the front? So like the others, we have each candidate will have a 1.5-minute opening statement, and then we have 2 questions for our library trustees candidates. We're going to start with Denise, and then we will move to Nicole. So Denise, if you have your opening statement, we're ready for it.
Thank you. And I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to address the community on why I'm running for the Hamilton-Wenham Public Libraries Board of Trustees. I'm an educator and an educational administrator and a passionate supporter of the library, all public libraries. In terms of my professional background, I've over 35 years of experience in educational leadership and management, teaching and new learning technologies. I received my doctorate in education and human development from Harvard University, and currently I work at Southern New Hampshire University as an executive director of health professions. I've also served on a number of boards and understand the role and responsibility of a trustee. I served on the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee from 2004 to 2009. And this past October, I participated in the strategic planning process for the Hamilton Wenham Public Library. I grew up on the North Shore, and I've lived with my family in Hamilton for the past 34 years. My daughter went to Hamilton Wenham Regional High School, and if there's time later on, ask me about one of her amazing experiences that she had at the library. I've worked with a number of community and university libraries during my career, and I believe the public library is a fundamental institution for democracy's well-being. Libraries have evolved from quiet places to read and to access books to vibrant community spaces with new learning and communication technologies. I'll wait. If
Okay.
we're done? Okay.
Time. Okay. Thank you, Denise. So Nicole, your opening statement, please.
So hi, I'm Nicole Gray, and I have been teaching here at Bucher School for the past 14 years. My family and I moved to Hamilton 8 years ago, and I have 2 girls who are currently in the school system. The reason why I want to be on the Board of Trustees again is because I am an avid reader and a passionate supporter of the public library. My girls and I spend most of our vacations at their programming, and we have learned so much from them. In the past 3 years, I have served on the board, and I have had the opportunity to meet wonderful people and get to know the staff better. And we have a fantastic library. It's well run. The staff is passionate, and they are well directed by our current director who's leaving. But I wish to stay on the board and remain on the board because I would like to, we just hired a new director, and I would like to help with her transition and continue to support the staff as we have been doing on the board, and also just continue to support our library. I teach first grade, like I said, and we learn about how to be good citizens. And my husband and I strongly believe in public education. We strongly believe in public community-run buildings. And the library has been a wonderful place for my 2 girls to grow up. And I am just passionate about continuing to support the staff and the new director.
Thank you, Nicole. So we have 2 questions for our candidates, and we'll start with Nicole and then Denise on this question. Then we'll reverse the order for the second question. So the first question is about the new director that will be coming in, and the question is, what changes do you expect to see or look for in a new director of the public library?
Well, you know, I sat on the search committee, and I listened to all of the candidates who came, and all of them were so passionate about libraries, and then so lovely in their statements of what they already think of the Hamilton Wenham Library. And I 100% agree with them that the Hamilton Wenham Library is an amazing library and a wonderful community space for our community. The new director, it is my hope that she will come in and that she will listen to the staff. We have staff who have been in the library for years, and they are passionate. They are great educators. They are great community service members. And I think my hope is that she would come in and that she would continue to work with the staff to continue giving services to the community that are already in place and implementing new services as times change and community desires change. I also hope that, you know, she will work with both towns to really go out into the communities and find out what the communities are looking for in a library and what changes they hope to make. We did just put in a new strategic plan, vote in a new strategic plan, and so my hope is that, you know, she will be successful in implementing those goals.
Great, thanks. And Denise, the question is, what changes do you expect to see or look for in a new director?
I haven't met the new director, but I've certainly read about the process. I think with any new leadership coming in, the most important thing that they could do immediately is to listen. So I agree with Nicole, in that respect, and to find out what are the issues, what's working, what needs to be addressed, what are the hopes, what are the dreams. I know that that takes a little bit of time, and the good thing is that there is a strategic plan, so to take a look at that. It's new, and it represents many voices from the community and from outside facilitation as well. So I think it's in good stead, but there will be a need to help with that transition because no one likes change. So it's going to be a process, and I think that's where a trustee can help with that process. I know that there are some issues with the library that are facility issues. The fan, I've heard, is, I know that the trustees have, and the former director was particularly concerned about the lifespan left of the air system. So I think there are some challenges ahead, and I think that it's going to be fun dealing with those challenges.
Great, thank you. So the second question for the candidates, and we'll start with Denise and then go to Nicole. What are other libraries doing that could enhance the service of our library?
I think I'm also in agreement that our library is an amazing place, doing quite a bit on the resources that are available. I think that sharing with other libraries collaboratively that has taken place, continue to take place, and be able to be that much stronger and share the resources rather than being in isolation. I think that having more connections with members of the community, and they have many right now, connections with the youth and with various diverse groups, should continue, with the aging population, with more diverse representation of the population. So I think that we're on, and I know that that is part of the strategic plan as well. So I think, that along with looking for new resources to help with some of the issues that facilities and other issues would be another way to engage.
Great, thank you. So Nicole, the question is, what are other libraries doing that could enhance the service of our library?
Well, after listening to many candidates just talk about what their libraries are doing, I think a lot of what's happening is people are starting to add more tinkering spaces for children and starting to add sharing libraries where you're sharing things, board games, butter churns, telescopes. And then one gentleman did mention too that his library put in a self-checkout area. They still had the circulation desk and all the circulation workers, but if you were in a rush, you could self-checkout. And so I think that there's lots of things that we could do. I think our library already has a great lender's library. We have so many things that we lend. We have a fabulous children's program with tinkering and engineering and all sorts of fun activities. My girls learned how to be aerialists one February vacation day at the library. So there's already so much going on. I think that keeping up with what the community wants is the most important, and listening to the people. I know as part of the strategic planning, people do want more outside space at the library and more outside gathering spaces, and so I think that that is definitely on our minds, and how do we create that, and how do we give the people what they want. So I think listening to the communities and listening to the people and building on an already strong foundation would be an important thing for the new director and the trustees in the future.
Okay, thank you. So we are now to closing statements. So 1 minute closing statements, and we'll go in the reverse order from opening statements. So We'll hear from Nicole and then Denise. So Nicole, 60 seconds for a closing statement.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and for welcoming me. I love coming and sharing my passion about education, and I think the library is for lifelong education, and I think that that's really important. And I also am so proud of the community that I teach in and live in, and am happy to support it in any way I can in order to teach my children about responsibility, about community responsibility and civic responsibility. And I'd love to be voted back onto the Board of Trustees. I think that we are on a good path. I have enjoyed being part of the strategic planning that has happened, being on the director's search, and also working on the policies and procedures. I would love to continue to share your voices with the board, and I just would love your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. So Denise?
Well, I wanted to piggyback on the last question when we were talking about sharing resources, that there are other ways to share resources, for instance, tools, a tool library. And I know that we're doing that right now with other utilities, but a tool library would be great. That works in Portland, Maine. As a library trustee, I would be a strong advocate for the Hamilton Wenham Public Library to meet its strategic goals, to expand its services, and to keep a healthy, strong institution in our community. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I would love your vote, and I think we're all pretty much in good hands with our wonderful regional library.
Thank you. Thanks to Denise and Nicole. Okay, so we are now at the last set of candidates, and this is something known as the school committee. And there are 3 seats available, 6 candidates running for 3 offices for a 3-year term. And we have from Wenham, Michelle Bailey, who's an incumbent, Gary Cheeseman and David Polito, who's an incumbent. From Hamilton, we have Alexander Dale, Michelle Horgan, and Valerie McCormick. And I'm going to...
Hi, I'm Michelle.
Okay. And most of the note cards were directed at this group, not surprisingly. So if there is time for extra questions and we can take them, we will, and as long as everyone has an opportunity to answer. So with this, the candidates here will each make a 90-second opening statement. We have 3 questions. The first question, all 6 of the candidates will answer. And then the second and the third question are split for half to answer the second and half to answer the third. We're really close to being on time, so this is really great. My 90-minute answer thing didn't work too well. That wasn't. So we're gonna do 90. We're gonna have 90-second opening statements, and we're gonna start with the Wenham candidates. So Michelle Bailey will go first, and then Gary Cheeseman, then Dave Polito. So Michelle.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Hamilton Wenham for hosting this annual event to allow the candidates in the community to get to know each other. It has been a great privilege to represent the residents on the school committee for the past 3 years. I moved to Wenham about 25 years ago as a newlywed. Within the first few months I was living in Wenham, I was volunteering at the Wenham Library and then at the Wenham Museum and then at the Wenham Library. My husband, Matt, and I have made Wenham our hometown, buying a small house and then moving to a slightly larger house to accommodate our growing family. Our 2 sons attend the regional high school. Matt leads the Scouts in town. Our family attends First Church, serving on boards and helping with Family Promise. About 8 years ago, I went back to school to live out my childhood dream of becoming a teacher. For the last 5 years, I have taught middle school I've been teaching students to see patterns and to love the beauty of math. I'm not always convincing, but I get up every day and try to inspire them. I have been involved with service at the schools for over a decade. I've been an active member of the Friends of the Preschool, the Friends of Bucher, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and the Bucher School Improvement Council. I have advocated on behalf of the school budgets and attended numerous meetings of the FinCom, the Selectmen, and the school committee. I have gone to town meetings from the beginning to the end to vote on the school issues. With my 2 sons attending our local schools, I have felt it was important to be involved. And now I'm looking for re-election and look forward to your support.
Thanks, Michelle. We'll go to Gary.
I'm Gary Cheeseman. I grew up in Wenham, attended Bucher School here, then the old Center School and Hamilton Regional High School, then was on to the Air Force Academy, a 28-year career in the Air Force, commander, pilot, international program manager. I offer 3 things to the school committee as a candidate. The first, I know how to educate. I've been a licensed high school teacher. I have a master's degree in education. I've taught in the classroom. I've taught at 30,000 feet in the air. I've taught in flight simulators. I've taught special ed. I've coached high school academic teams, very talented children. I also have management experience, something that the school committee, when the budget's coming up, is in need of. I've done small projects up to $1 billion international projects. I've led 4-person flight crews. I've led 1,400-person units. I have a master's degree in public administration as well. But I think most of what I offer is objectivity. I don't have kids currently in the schools. I have served Wenham as chairman of the Cemetery Commission, as the Bylaw Commission and the 375th Anniversary Commission, and I've had a lifetime of service to the community and the nation, and I always put integrity and the service first. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And we'll go to David.
So I'm used to sitting up here, but I'm actually not used to having people in the audience, so it's actually really a great night. I also like to thank the Model UN for making me this nice sign when we thought my original one blew away. Even though we found it, I decided to use this one. But I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight to allow me to introduce myself to those who might not know me as I seek re-election to the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee. My name is David Polito, and I'm the current chair of the Regional School Committee. I have served on the board since 2016, and I've served as chair, assistant treasurer, and on the policy committee and the negotiating committee. Outside of our district, I serve on 2 other educational boards as a board member of City Air Boston, an AmeriCorps educational nonprofit that partners with public schools in high-need areas, helping students and schools succeed. I began my education in my career in education in 1998 with City Air and have sat on the Boston board since 2013. I also serve on the board of the Massachusetts Art Educators Association, where I serve as the Supervision and Administration Division Director. I hold a master's in education and curriculum and instruction, and also an education specialist degree in educational leadership. In addition, I'm also completing an educational doctorate in applied learning sciences from the University of Miami. Excuse me. So I hold teaching licenses from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in pre-K through 8th grade, 5th through 12th grade, and as a voc tech teacher, as well as pending licensure as building level administration. So I'm running for re-election to the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee to put our schools first, to put our children first, mine and yours, and I must act and react as a tax-paying citizen, but I also fully realize that the value of my home in Wenham is directly reflected in the high-quality education our children receive through the Hamilton-Wenham School District. For this reason, I'm running for re-election to Hamilton-Wenham School District, and I ask for your vote.
Thanks, David. From Hamilton, we have 3 candidates, and we'll start with Alexander Dale.
I'd like to thank the league for having us out tonight. Usually I watch it from the comfort of my home, so it's nice to actually be here participating this time. So I've lived in Hamilton since 1982. It's almost 37 years. I went to elementary school at Winthrop, middle school in the Bucher, and I too attended the center school. Graduate of the Hamilton-Wenham Regional High School. I have a 3-year-old, so that's where my interest really, came to fruition for participating with the school committee. Having a child really does change who you are. So, that's really where my passion comes from for this. I've ran a business in Hamilton for at least going just over 7 years. I run it with my wife, so I have a lot of background with, being a sole proprietor and business owner. I recently just graduated from the Massachusetts Fire Academy Chief Officer Training, which gave me a really nice background. I became certified, so I had to test to achieve the certification, and that includes management theory, performing gap analysis, a SWOT analysis, human resources, labor negotiations. It was almost a 200-hour course plus a research project, and so I think that's been a great primer for contributing to the school committee.
Thanks, thanks, Alexander. And Michelle Horgan.
Hi, good evening, and thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for hosting this night. As a resident of Hamilton for 25 years and a parent in the district since 2001, with my youngest scheduled to graduate in 2021, it is safe to say that I have had an extensive exposure to the school district. My longevity will give me an experienced perspective and serve the district well if I am elected. I am committed to our community. I currently serve on the Hamilton Housing Authority Board, which oversees the management of Hamilton's public housing. I am also a member of the Hamilton Wenham Ed Fund, serving as president last year and co-president this year. I have worked at the Accord Food Pantry in Hamilton for over 2.5 years, managing our volunteer program and helping with the daily operations of the pantry. I am keenly aware that our community is larger than our school community. If elected, I will try and represent all in our community. Lastly, I can responsibly get things done. I believe in the team concept. My life has been shaped by this concept. I have always worked respectfully with others in an effort to achieve a goal. I intend to work respectfully with our school administrators, town officials, fellow school committee members, and the community in an effort to further the district's mission in educating the students of Hamilton and Wenham. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. And last we have Valerie McCormick.
Good evening. Thank you also to the League of Women Voters. I am Valerie McCormick, and I live here in Hamilton and have an estate law practice here in town. I also have 2 children at Cutler Elementary, one in kindergarten and one in 2nd grade, and I'm the current co-president of the Friends of Cutler. Since my children have many years ahead of them in the district, I have a personal interest in the quality of our education system. The school committee, tasked with the job of finding a new superintendent, is going to be essential in maintaining our high quality of education and bringing our vision for the district into the 21st century. And with our taxes as high as they are, we need to accomplish our goals in the most efficient manner possible. I feel that my particular skill set as a lawyer would be useful on the school committee. In my past practice, I've represented individuals in political office. I've represented employees before various administrative agencies and town bodies. I've experienced drafting policies and procedures. And practicing estate law involves a lot of strategic and financial planning, skills that would apply to my role on the school committee. My experience as co-president of the Friends of Cutler would also be an asset. There, I'm responsible for presiding over board and membership meetings, overseeing all the various committees, and working with the treasurer in preparing the budget. I decided to put my name in the hat because I didn't want to be one of those people who stand on the sidelines and wish things would change. And given the importance of our schools, I'm willing to give my time and energy to this cause, and I would ask you to consider me for school committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie. So we have 3 questions, and as I mentioned earlier, the first question everyone gets to answer. The second and third questions are split between the 6 candidates. So this first question is, it's not an easy one, so good luck in 90 seconds. We'll take the same order. So the question is, in your opinion, what is the school district doing well? What are its challenges, and what would you do to improve them? So again, I'll repeat the question, then we're gonna take the same order we did for opening statements. In your opinion, what is the school district doing well? What are its challenges, and what would you do to improve them? So we'll start with Michelle Bailey.
So as a parent, I feel that my children have been given lots of opportunities to work with phenomenal teachers, including Nicole Gray, who is here in the audience tonight, and to develop their individual interests. The thing that is the most challenging for our district is we're a small community, and we rely pretty much solely on our taxpayers to provide the funding for it. One of the things that I have been doing is working on the foundation budget, which is how the state allocates money. Many years ago, probably 7 or 8, I went to a hearing in Danvers, been in touch with Brad Hill about it. Every opportunity I get to tweet or put on Facebook, you'll see that I'm talking about the foundation budget, and we're close. We actually had it almost passed, and then it didn't in the last round. There are 2 bills currently before us, the Promise Act and I can't remember what the other one's called, which may bring us more funding. So I think we need to hitch our wagons to making sure that the state returns to us the money that we're sending to them for our schools.
Great, thanks. So question goes to Gary.
Yes, I think in the classroom, the school's going very well. I've attended all the Friends of Cutler, Bucher, and Winthrop schools. We have a lot of volunteers in the school system helping out. Very good libraries in the school. I think the main challenges coming up are Dr. Harvey's leaving, so we're going to need an interim or a full-time superintendent we have to choose. But I think the biggest issue that's coming before the 2 towns is the funding issue, that the school budget needs more scrutiny. For instance, in the current budget, there's just an OPEB line for $250,000. I don't think the towns realize that this is just a small step on a movement to move a trust fund that's going to eventually reach $34 to $100 million. I would hope everybody takes a look at that at the town meetings and familiarizes themselves. Employees, parents, taxpayers is going to hit you big time, and I don't think the school committee up to this point has brought it forward. So I'd like to have more communication with the citizens, better coordination with the towns.
Thank you, Gary. The question goes to David.
All right, great. I just want to clarify this first of what Gary said. The school committee actually has put together a 30-year trust plan for the OPEB, in which case over the course of the 30 years we will be paying in $34 million in assets to actually keep the cost down from $100 million. So it's really important to just put that out there right now. And sort of just to back that up, I think the one thing that the school committee is doing, the school district is doing well is really they've come together and creating a really good foundation for growth. And we've done that by having administration come in the past 6 or 7 years where we've actually helped fix this community's financial struggles, or this school district's financial struggles. And at the same time, we've actually helped bring the teachers that are really the core of the greatness of this school committee back, at least in the same conversation of pay scale for surrounding districts. So even though the teachers are underpaid compared to comparative distance, they want to stay here because they care about our kids and they actually want to make this community great, and they see the greatness in this community. So financing is definitely an issue coming up, but that's something that's almost beyond this board, because everyone in this room and everyone watching at home has to realize that a lot of the financial burdens and hardships that are happening that we're seeing as a direct result on the school committee are actually beyond our control. It's rising cost of health care, it's rising cost of out-of-district tuition, and that's something that has to be paid attention to. While everyone sitting up here can help, a lot of the cost overrides are actually beyond our control.
Thanks,
and need
David.
to be discussed elsewhere.
Thank you. And so we're going to go next to Alexander, then Michelle Horgan, and then Valerie. The question again is, in your opinion, what is the school district doing well? What are its challenges, and what would you do to improve them? So, Alexander?
So what are we doing? Well, I think, you know, the cost per student right now is actually pretty reasonable compared to other school districts. You know, I mean, some schools are over 20,000 per student. So at around 16,000 per student, it's, you know, it's pretty reasonable. Obviously, I think a challenge with that is, you know, financial resources are finite. So maintaining that budget is going to be, you know, imperative, you know, in the long run. What would I do to change that? What would I do? You know, I think I'd just apply myself. I know there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm not afraid to reach out to, you know, whether it's the Department of Education, the Department of Revenue, Department of Labor, whoever I need to email. I'll be able to do that and find my answer and make sure I'm accurate as I can possibly be.
Great, thank you. So next, Michelle Horgan.
Hi, thank you. We have exceptional teachers in our school district. Day in, day out, they give them 100% of themselves to our students, and we should all be thankful for that. I've missed one curriculum night since 2001 because of a Bruce Springsteen concert. It was my youngest, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. But I have always walked away in awe and knowing that this is a vocation for these people. And they're not here for the money. They're here because they teach in a great district with great support and parents. So we do that very well, really well. So I'm thrilled with that. The biggest challenge facing us is the replacement of Dr. Harvey. He has done a great job. I know detractors, lovers, whatever, he has done a great job. And his leaving is a void. And I think for us to challenge or to fill that challenge, we need to put a school committee in place that can work together, collaborate with each other, be respectful to each other, know that there's no personal agenda, that we work for the town as a school committee, and we need to keep that in mind because that's the most important thing, our students and providing our society with respectful, responsible adults. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And Valerie.
I think I would agree that we have fantastic teachers. In my experience, everyone that I've come in contact with, and the leadership as well. My kids are at Cutler, and the principal there is fantastic. And it is going to be a challenge to replace Dr. Harvey. And the other challenge, obviously, is the resources. You know, there's only a finite amount that we need to kind of stretch as you know, the schools grow in size and everything gets more expensive. We also need to be able to retain and attract new teachers and staff. And as far as improving, I think communication is one thing that would be always an area to improve upon. Communication with the public, communication within the group, communication within various boards within the town.
Thanks, Valerie. So we have two more questions, and again, these will be split between the candidates. The first question will be answered by Valerie, David, and Michelle Horgan in that order. And the question is, what qualities should the new superintendent have to build on our current school strengths and improve upon its challenges? So what qualities are we looking for in a new superintendent to build on what we have and also help address our challenges? So Valerie, we'll start with you.
I think a good superintendent needs to be a good listener, be organized, be flexible, be a good communicator, a good leader, and be able to integrate and be able to come up with a strategy and vision, keeping every student in mind.
Okay, thank you. David?
This is a great question, and it's something that's sort of been on my mind since I was part of the, Dr. Harvey asked me to be a reference for him when he was actually interviewing with Masconomet. And when I was speaking with the chair of the Masconomet school committee, he asked me a question that really sort of struck me, and it's been in my thought process now moving forward, having replaced Dr. Harvey. And he asked me if I felt that Dr. Harvey was a great manager or a great educational visionary. And I'm like, wow, that's a great question. Because personally, I think Mike's both, but at the same time, I don't think he actually had the opportunity to show both sides. I think he's been an excellent manager for the past 7 years, and he finally built a foundation for us to now grow as a district. And I think that's probably what I'd like to see come in as with the new superintendent, is that educational visionary. So now that we have the finances in order, and that we have, so happy staff throughout, what are we going to do to make this district great, to be even greater? I'm sorry. And I'd like to see someone who's actually had experience building new buildings, right? So I came into this building in '86 as a middle schooler, and it was outdated then. And this isn't even on the list of one of the buildings that needs to be replaced. There's a lot of growth opportunity within this district, and I think that's something we should really be looking for in the next superintendent.
Thank you, David. And the question to Michelle Horgan, what qualities are you looking for in a new superintendent?
Leadership. This person will have hundreds, if not 1,000, people looking up to him, teachers, staff, parents, students. It's really important that we have someone that will lead us through these next decades. As we know, public education is really at a crucial point right now because of funding. So it's important that we have someone that can see where public education is going and take us there.
Thank you very much, Michelle. The next question will be answered by Alexander, Michelle, Bailey, and then Gary in that order. And the question is, with all the competing needs across school districts, what are your views on building AstroTurf fields? And then there's another part that says, are there alternatives? So that's the question. And this is great because you guys have been answering with covering most of these index cards too. So I like this energy there. With all the competing needs across school districts, what are your views on building AstroTurf fields? Are there alternatives? Alexander.
Well, I'm sure there's alternatives, and I think we've brought up turf fields before. I think that's something you'd have to, ask for at town meeting. And if the town meeting wants turf fields, then yeah, we should move towards that direction. So I'd have to defer that to town meeting.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Michelle Bailey.
So this has come before the school committee, and I've said several times that I'm really indifferent to whether or not we have them. But I feel that we need to, if we decide that's what we want to do, then we need to be putting together a group of people who is going to help do private fundraising, do some grants, work with the town to find the financing mix that's going to allow us to do that. I think we are currently in the process of potentially making it possible that we wouldn't need to have necessarily AstroTurf fields, but maybe could find a way to have more field space at our current building. And I am definitely in support of that. I feel that it's a great burden on our student athletes to be traveling to Ipswich, to be traveling across town, to be traveling down to the library and back and forth. It's expensive for us to provide busing. It's not good for the environment for us to be busing kids all over the place when we could just create tennis courts, a few more fields at our buildings, and it would also help us to increase our offerings in PE. So not sure about the turf fields, but I believe we need more fields and more opportunities for athletics up at the school. And we are working on a plan that would allow that, and we will be, as Alex said, going to town meeting and looking for other ways to fund that.
Great, thanks, Michelle. And the question goes to Gary.
Yes, as far as AstroTurf, it's one of several competing priorities, depending on what group you are in the school district. But I think if you look at the public hearing handouts, the school committee has already identified critical infrastructure items that have not been addressed. There are some safety issues that need to be addressed, and certainly the conditions of the schools themselves Dr. Harvey gave me a tour of some of the faults at the Cutler School, and we need to develop a long-term plan for the schools, a 5-year plan, and the turfs would be one competing element within that. But we've got to look at the buildings as well as the needs for the students, the classroom equipment, and so forth.
Okay, thank you. So thanks, everybody. We're going to now go to closing statements. They're 60 seconds each, and we will move in reverse order from the way that we had opening statements. So we're going to start with Valerie, Michelle Horgan, Alexander, and then David, Gary Cheeseman, and Michelle Bailey. So Valerie, closing statement.
Thank you. There are some very important decisions facing this school committee, and we need to choose members who are qualified, committed, and whose primary goal will be the quality of our children's education. While I'm relatively new to town, I look forward to raising my kids here, and I feel like I have a duty to give back to my community. I feel I'd make a positive impact on the school committee, and I'd ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at a crossroads in this district. The strength and the quality of the education that our district provides is a direct reflection of the leadership team that Dr. Harvey put in place. Dr. Harvey's leaving will create a huge void in our district. The school committee is charged with selecting our next superintendent. Our district needs school committee members who will work respectfully and collaboratively with each other and the community to hire a new superintendent. I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander?
So I think it's possibly an opportunity. You know, Dr. Harvey's leaving. I'm grateful for his service, but you know what? Maybe it's good to look at this as an optimist, and we can move forward. So we're at a good point. We're in my life where I have a 3-year-old. For me to start, looking at the long term, what we need for our schools, and how to stay involved and make sure we, utilize all our resources and our time. I'm a people person. I like networking. I like harmony. So I'm even-keeled, but looking forward to having the opportunity possibly to apply those skills to the school committee. And thank you.
Thanks very much. Next, we'll go to David.
So once again, I'd just like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to be here tonight. For the past 3 years, I've served our community as a member of the Hamilton Regional School Committee. And since my first election, my list of goals for these schools and this community have only grown. We are at an important crossroads in the life and growth of our district. We must replace an engaging and inspirational educational leader in Dr. Michael Harvey as superintendent. This process will be long and arduous, and we must create a school committee that is thorough enough to find our next district leader, but also inviting and engaging enough to create a work environment that they want to join. So I'm uniquely qualified for that role. I have over 20 years experience in education and educational leadership, and after 3 years serving as a member and chair of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee, I'm just beginning to feel that I'm hitting my stride and beginning to understand all the roles and responsibilities involved. So my name is David Polito, and I ask for your vote on April 11th to help guide the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District into the next chapter as we lay the foundation for the next level of growth as a school district and community.
Thank you, David. We'll go to Gary next.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. The school committee has several challenges ahead: new superintendent, infrastructure challenges, and above all, budgetary. I would like to be able to contribute my expertise and background to a more collaborative school committee that puts out more information to the public, that coordinates with the towns, and addresses the major budgetary issues that the towns are facing. The end result always has to be for the students in the classroom, but to get there, we need to make sure that the support and infrastructure is in place and maintained over the long term. Thank you, and ask for your vote.
Thank you, Gary. And last, we'll go to Michelle Bailey.
Great. The next few years will be transformative and transitional for the district as we change leadership and look at our future capital needs. In the next few months, the school committee will hire an interim superintendent and begin the search for the next superintendent. And I am looking forward to sharing my experiences from previous search committees, including chairing the search for the town administrator about 5 years ago. During my time in Wenham, I have regularly participated in town boards and advocated on local issues. The most important thing I have learned from these committees is that effective committees have a shared vision and agreed upon procedures. The committees lead together and share responsibilities of governance, and they communicate with the stakeholders all along the way. If re-elected, I will work with the residents and the town officials to build a shared vision of how we can finance our schools and our capital needs while addressing the similar issues within the towns. I am committed to building an effective committee to lead our school district. It is important for our community, our children, and our future. I look forward to your support on April 11th.
Thank you. So thank you to all the candidates running for school committee tonight. Much appreciated. Okay, so we've made it. This is really wonderful on-time experience. Few thanks for us before we wrap up. So first, you see all the students around that have helped us, Catherine, Alexis, and the others in the back. Please thank them. It's really great to see levels of volunteering. This will hopefully be the next group of people up here vying for candidate positions. It's also great to see all the candidates here. This is the most important form of public service. And for those next on the 11th who are elected and those who aren't, we really appreciate all of your service. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. April 11th is voting day and April 6th are the town meetings. So please attend and have a wonderful evening. Thanks again.